Booker?
I'll just add that I think one of the areas that Congressman, this is really one of the areas in the big picture that Congressman Fitzpatrick and I have our most significant disagreements. And I think that Congressman Fitzpatrick and our current Congress have really gone out of their way to roll back women's rights on this and so many issues. And so from defunding Planned Parenthood, which Congressman Fitzpatrick voted for, to weakening the Violence Against Women Act, which Congressman Fitzpatrick voted for, to co-sponsoring the bill to redefine rape, which Congressman Fitzpatrick co-sponsored as well. These are all examples of why are we taking time away from what we really need to be discussing? Why are we taking time away from job creation and boosting the economy and health care and the deficit to roll back the rights of women and families? And that's one of the areas where we could not disagree more.
Congressman? 1 minute rebuttal.
Do I get a rebuttal? I think I took it.
You went first.
Yeah.
You did a rebuttal? Darn, I was doing so well, too. Okay. Question 5. Our next question deals with special interest money in politics and campaign tactics. It's my pleasure to say that both of you look much more pleasant in person than you do in the grainy, unflattering photos used by your opposition. You look like nice people. Those photos are often accompanied by terms like Tea Party Mike and Radical Kathy. I should add that they are not the product of your direct campaigns, but rather paid for by seemingly faceless political action committees or national campaign funds. This may seem like a frivolous tactic, frivolous sticks and stones topic rather, but it speaks to the rising disenchantment over the virtually unlimited fundraising ability of outside groups and largely unaccountable for their actions. So the question is, what can we do to reduce the influence of special interest money in politics, especially in light of the Citizens United ruling? And do you endorse reform? If so, what quick fixes can you share with us now? Mrs. Booker.
Thank you. Great question. And I'll tell you, I was in favor of campaign finance reform before I ever ran for Congress. I have never been so much in favor of it as I am right now. This is, Citizens United. I'll start with TV, and I apologize if I offend, any TV and media companies in the room and on the audience. But TV, frankly, it starts with TV. It's probably the single worst thing that happened to political discourse, because at the same time that it raised the cost exponentially, it lowered the message down to practically zero, if not below zero in some situations. You put that on top of the Citizens United decision. The Citizens United decision, I think, is probably one of the worst decisions in Supreme Court history. And I absolutely support doing anything we can to reverse this decision, whether that's by constitutional amendment, whether that's by overrule by the Supreme Court, should that happen in the future. I firmly and strongly support it. I also think that there's a lot of other things that we can be doing short of that. We need to be having more transparency. And we can do that by statute in Congress, passing campaign finance reform that requires transparency of the big money rolling into these third-party ads and so forth. And that was mainly the questions that were on the table, so I'll stop there for now.
Congressman?
So, my opponent and I both agree that we need campaign finance reform. We both embrace it. And to a certain level, to a certain extent, we've both been victimized by the process. And in the opening remarks, Mr. Preza, you thanked the candidates for the willingness to put our names on the ballot. We recognize when we do that, we put our reputations out there, as well as we put our families out there. That is very unfortunate when families get dragged in as well. That's happened to me, and I know it's happened to other candidates. I stood here 2 years ago on this very podium, addressing community college students against a different candidate. And it was a candidate that I had reached out to in the very beginning of my campaign. And I said, look, to the current congressman, a lot of money is going to be spent in this election. Needlessly, I believe. You're going to raise a lot of money, I'm going to raise a lot of money. It's going to go on television, we're going to take on newspaper ads. Not enough of it is going to be directed to what we believe is the future of our country and what our ideas are, but we're going to have to defend ourselves, unfortunately. And so I offered last year, from what I know, maybe the only Republican in the country that did so, I offered for a spending limit. It was essentially laughed at the time. And this year, and maybe part of the blame falls to me, I waited for my opponent to contact me, and I watched as the National Democrat Party made reservations in the network television region here in Philadelphia to spend millions of dollars against me. And so, year after year after year, while candidates want to do the right thing, they're required under the rules as they exist to start raising money to defend themselves. This is my campaign finance reform. I've said it before, maybe you've heard it. If I could write the rule tomorrow, it would be, if you can't vote for a candidate, you can't contribute to that candidate. So you could, anybody here could contribute to a presidential candidate, you could vote for United States Senate, United States Congress, State House, State Senate. It would eliminate all out-of-state and out-of-district contributions. It would eliminate all PAC contributions because PACs can't vote. But until we get laws like that passed in Washington, we're going to be back here every 2 years wringing our hands about the state of politics and the political discourse. I'm a candidate willing to adopt that immediately, and I would hope you would support it as well.
Mrs. Bookvarn, you may take extra time in your rebuttal.
Thank you. Congressman, with all due respect, you've accepted over $1 million from special interest money in this race. Your party and other right-wing special interests have poured another $1 million against me into this race. On the other hand, over 99.8% of my contributions come from individuals, come from human beings. I think the average contribution for us in the last quarter was $37. I'm sorry, but you did not have the right to claim to be a victim standing here today with that kind of money, and that, frankly, is why you didn't come before me to ask me to reach an agreement. You started out this race with $1 billion in the bank. It is no surprise that you did not come to me to ask for that kind of agreement.
So both candidates have accepted PAC contributions, and both candidates have accepted individual contributions. That's the way it works. My opponent has raised a lot of money, so have I. My opponent has been on television since August. A small buy for a fairly positive commercial. Ever since, 3 or 4 commercials, everyone has been a negative commercial. I'm currently on the network television. It's a very positive commercial. It's about a bill, the Danny McIntosh bill that I've been promoting since I got down to the nation's capital, to be followed probably this week by a 30-second commercial, myself, my wife Kathy, and my 3 daughters talking about the future. So politics, unfortunately, we're required to raise money. That's the way the rules are set. But the campaign commercials, you just take the campaign commercials as a measuring stick. Might have been positive. I've seen many negative commercials against my candidacy.
Thank you. Our next question is on foreign affairs and will be asked in person by student Michael Gonzalez, who is representing the Lower Bucks campus. Michael, would you stand, please? I should add that Michael is a United States Army veteran who served in Kuwait and Iraq. He is one of several veterans enrolled at the college, and I believe that the college does an exemplary job in helping those veterans transition back to a life of education and employment. And I know I speak for everyone when I say thank you to Michael and to every veteran in the room for your service. So let's violate the rules one more time and have a round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I was thin at one point when I was sweating every day in Iraq. But anyway, there are very delicate and complicated conditions throughout the Middle East. We've imposed economic sanctions against Iran to disrupt their ability to produce nuclear weapons. Israel is discussing the point at which it would want to strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. There's a civil war in Syria. Egypt and Libya's young democracies are teetering between stability and turmoil. Palestinians want a recognized state. Pakistan has nuclear weapons that terrorists would love to get their hands on. And the United States is slowly extricating itself from an 11-year war in Afghanistan. I know that's a lot to address in 2 minutes, so let me ask you a general question. What mindset will you carry with you to Congress that will guide your actions as you address these and other challenges that may emerge during your term?
Congressman, you're first.